Hey guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. You guys hear me? All right, let's get this countdown started. Hey guys, welcome, welcome, welcome to the National Childcare Owners Association Childcare Chats. Today we are discussing generational wealth in the childcare industry. We have two very, very special guests joining us today regarding generational wealth. So I would like to introduce Trayvon, the daycare dude, McNeil, and Marnicia Watson. So how are you guys doing today?
Doing amazing. Glad to be here.
Excellent,
I'm
excellent.
good. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Perfect. Our president, Raymond Maxwell, how are you today?
I'm a little under the weather, but I'm doing great. Got to give out those positive vibes.
Well, it's nice to see you up and moving about. We're glad to have you. And our executive director, Ty Harris, how are you today?
I am fabulous. I am fabulous. I want to thank each of our guests for taking the time out to come on this child care chat. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy and productive lives to spend a little with us. Thank you.
Gotcha. Without further ado, there are several people that's watching and joining us. We're ready and jarred up to talk about generational wealth and what that means working in all aspects of the childcare industry. So we've got a seasoned childcare owner, and then we also have some input from our legacy owners. So I'm excited to have both on this childcare chats. So we're going to jump right in. We already know what generational wealth means or should mean. But again, I would really love to start by just saying, hey, what does generational wealth mean to you all? So we can start with you, Trayvon.
All right. So first of all, thank y'all so much for having me, and I'm excited about this conversation. I believe it's a conversation that's absolutely necessary. For me, generational wealth may not look like what it looks like to everybody else, but I will hope that it would in some aspect. For me, generational wealth goes beyond money. Of course, generational wealth is having the financial means and the assets and all those things, the possession to be able to pass down from generation to generation that follows you. But I'm one of those people that believes in resources. I believe that if you don't, if you're going to look at generational wealth and you don't consider the resources that you are building now, then you are going to set the generation that follow, you're going to set them up to where they have to work extra hard. So for me, my goal now is to not only build money for my daughters to be able to carry on what I've built, but for my daughters not to have to struggle while they're carrying on what I've built, because I've built enough networks that their net worth can lean and depend upon the networks that I've built. And so as they grow and as they build upon, as generations come, all they have to do is say, hey, yeah, my dad had a relationship with your dad and your mom, and here's what I would like to build with you now. Let's do this. And so I believe generational wealth means to build resources, connections, networks, and financial wisdom to be able to handle what you have.
Right. Good question.
Oh, great. Marnicia.
Thanks, Drayvon. That was awesome. I pick it back off him. I believe that generation wealth to me means curating a life that you can pass on to generations, not just money, but just so it can be there for your children and your children and their children's. This doesn't mean always money. You know, generation can include passing down business or even skills that are needed to continue to run and create new business and be able to have the resources and the connections to be able to outsource all of these businesses and connections that the future generation would may have.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said skills because again, it's one of those things. If you're not born into it, you don't know what to do with it. You're creating it. So you have to have that skill set. And that's one of those things that kind of comes with over time, especially when you are the business owner and you're down in the trenches, you're starting this business, you're starting this thing, but your children don't have the skills that's necessary, so they have to navigate the world. They have to know what to do with those skills. They have to know what to do with those resources. So I love both of you guys' input. So great. Todd, I'm gonna pitch it over to you.
Okay. Again, to echo, Madam Vice President, those were some great answers. Um, so my question to you, Marnicia, is when speaking to second generation entrepreneurs, what suggestions would you give them to help them develop their voice?
Well, first I would just basically just tell them don't give up. I mean, there will be many people who doubt you or even try to size you up because they feel as though you are just a prodigy or that the things just handed down to you
Hmm.
without you having to work hard. Never let anybody put you down. There is room for everybody in the business. You just have to find your own way, leave your own mark, your own way in your own time. See, this is a saying that I always say, nothing just happened,
Right.
right? You have to work hard. You have to keep your goals in mind and endure simply thankless tasks by motivating yourself through variety of sources, including inspirational tapes, news clippings, supportive friends. See, that's the ultimate benefit to keeping yourself positive and motivating yourself and basically being the aim for higher in the industry.
Okay. Great response. Trayvon, what values would you pass on to the next generation to help them to continue to build a wealth and family legacy?
So, man. So I'll just pick because I think there's just so many. I'm sorry. So for me, love is a big deal for me, and I tell people this as I build leaders. I tell leaders you have to love regardless. Love, comma, regardless of how people handle you, regardless of what people say to you, how they deal with you, how they mistreat you or walk away from you. Love them. Here's why: because if you love unconditionally and regardlessly, what will happen is you will always maintain the character of a leader that is equipped to handle the weight that comes with being a leader. So if I'm going to pass down a core value to keep my generations from failing in leadership, the first thing I want to tell them is to love everybody regardless, and then be integral. Be integral about everything. Let integrity follow you because your name is all you have. All you have is your name.
Mm.
At the end of the day, once your name is tarnished, it's hard to get it back. And if you get it back, you're going to get it back with a stain on it. So there are going to be limitations on you in the area in which you wish to succeed. And then if I could, two more things: prioritizing and accountability. Prioritizing and accountability. Those are two more core values I would prioritize. Am I able to share why?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I found out in my building that I thought I had my priorities together. However, and this is a great example, I was once married. And when I was married, I had my two children. And I thought my priorities were in line because I was building this child care center over here. I mean, we were booming. I had just started my first 3 months. I'm full, got a building here. I ain't never been to school for early childhood education. Man, I'm doing it. And I'm a dude. Everybody else doing this in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm killing it. And I was excited. And I knew that my wife loved it. I knew that my daughter was proud of me. All of this great stuff. Everybody's hyping me up. And I was saying to myself, I'm building this. This is what I was telling myself. I'm building this so that my family does not have to need. I will meet all the needs. However, because my priorities were not as in line as I thought they were, my wife was at home, although she could shop on Amazon and I forgot the Shoe Dazzle and all these other places she could go and box away at my door every day. There was still a void there that she did not deserve to have when she had a whole husband.
Wow.
So I was not prioritizing where I thought I should. And so now I'd say to myself, if I could go back and change 10 times, I would. However, now I say to myself, when I marry again, and because I have my children now, I make sure that there is nothing that I'm building now that takes priority over my children. So if they need me on a Saturday or Sunday, I'm sorry, they're just gonna need me. If they need me after 6 o'clock p.m., even though we're 24 hours, I'm sorry, they're just gonna need me. Because after a certain time, my time is for my family. And there are certain times that I carve out within my schedule for the year that goes to my family. And so prioritization is a big deal. And here's the thing: if you don't learn how to prioritize your family, your spiritual values, and then your business, what you'll do is you'll mix things up and you'll mismanage the money that's needed to build the wealth.
Oh boy.
Because now here's a good example, and this ain't my testimony, y'all. Just in case y'all want to go run your mouth when you finish, or y'all who watching, I just want to give you some. This ain't my testimony, but here's a good example. Because now that you're married, you and your wife share this your husband share this 5-6 bedroom home, 2-car garage. You got 3 cars in the driveway, maybe 4 cars in the driveway. But now that you did not manage well or prioritize well, she now or he wants to walk away. Y'all divorced, and guess what happens to your money? It's split. Your money management is jacked up now. You know, so every part supplies the whole, and so you have to be able to handle your scheduling and your life and prioritize things in a way to where it will benefit everybody. I'm sorry. And then accountability is the next thing. If you don't have anybody who can tell you what to do, you don't need to be telling anybody else what to do. All right. And that's the most simplistic way to put it.
That's a great answer. Great answer.
All right.
You could tell this. You could tell Trayvon is a pastor.
My bad.
Some great points. That accountability piece. That's definitely something that is a big thing. And then prioritize it. So yeah, you definitely stepped on some toes and you opened up some ears when you went down that road. So I want to make sure you know that. Marnicia, you're 26 years old. You've been around this business for some time. So I want to ask you it's a 2-part question. And I've never asked you this for those who watching, Marnicia is our oldest daughter. So I've never asked her this question, and hopefully she gives a good response that make me feel proud as a dad. So I know how long, just to let everybody know how long you've been involved in the childcare business and what sparked your interest to continue in the childcare business.
Well, as a young girl, I started out helping my mom run her in-home childcare. But I wouldn't really just consider myself involved in the business until I was 16. At that age, I just began to realize it was a business operation and not just something we was doing for fun. This was our livelihood in a way to change lives for young children. So that's why I wanted to continue the passion in childcare. But really what sparked my interest in childcare was after watching my mom grow her business and being by her side and being the oldest and watching my siblings and babysitting them, I was the responsible one. So it piqued my interest and it just came naturally. I was into basketball, being an actress in school, and those 2 things faded. But for some reason, the love that I had and the passion that I had for children, it was there. It never went away. So it only grew stronger. And that's why I wanted to continue the journey and continue the legacy that my mama had started.
That's a great answer. Daphne, look at you. I hope you say Marnicia don't ever give you credit. Look at she gave you all the credit right there. All the credit was sent your way. Trayvon, Trayvon, this is a question for you. As a man, we've had this conversation before. What sparked your interest in childcare? Okay, that's the one thing. But what keeps you?
Oh man. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest. Well, I started in childcare. Oh man, probably about 15 years ago. So I've been in the business itself for about 15 years, or in the industry about 15 years. And what sparked me then is I needed a job.
No.
That's true. Like I needed a job, and the reason why, because I was going to skip that. And when you asked her, I was like, if he asked me this question, should I say that?
It's fact.
Right.
It's a fact.
But the reason why I said I want to share that is because a lot of people are in leadership roles and they start out in those leadership roles accidentally.
Oh.
Like they don't realize that there's a leader in them until they get into it. And that's just not ordained. Mm-hmm. However, for me, I started out in childcare. I've always loved children. I always loved young people. But just because you like kids don't mean you need to work with kids.
Right.
I want to put that out there. For me, so I enjoyed it. And it was just something that I felt like I was supposed to be doing, man. I felt like it was a rebirthing in me. The leader in me felt ignited when I was given opportunity to make certain decisions over certain programs. And my director at the time, I worked for a chain called Childcare Network, and they're pretty popular down in this area. And with Childcare Network, she saw something in me, and she put me over the school program for her three centers in that particular region. And so the school age program was something that I was able to make decisions on. I was like, oh man, I love this. So I fell in love with that, and from there it just became what it was.
Okay. And how many operations do you have now?
I have 3. I'm opening a 3rd center now, and I'm actually working on opening a K-12 school that launches in August of this year. So
you're going to be able to take children from infancy all the way to
12th grade.
Look at that. You talking about a line, boy. Woo!
Yeah, man.
That's a main one. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and that's a part of that generational wealth thing that we're talking about. So that's why I appreciate you guys for having this conversation, because when you talk about generational wealth, you can't think for the now. Mm-hmm. You got to think for the later, if that makes sense. And if I could be a preacher for just 2 seconds, preach for 2 seconds. When God created man, the Bible tells us, I believe in the Bible, and the Bible tells us that God breathed into man, and man became then a living soul. So that means God's breath went into the man. That's why a lot of times, I'm here to help a few married people real quick, or some of y'all dating. That's why a lot of times the woman can think for us and be right, yes. But a lot of times the man does not think in the now. We think in the future. Because we think like God. We think ahead of time most of the time. Now, there's some of us, we don't do it right. We don't get it right all the time. However, that's how that is. And I say that because for me, I get questioned a lot about, Trey, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why we got to do this over here? Like in my childcare center, starting at age 1, we're in uniforms. You're wearing uniforms in our childcare center. And that's because I have a vision. I had a vision 2 years ago to open a school. I just had a vision to do it. Didn't know how I was going to do it. Didn't know what money I was going to use to do it. But I had a vision. And so, and guess what? I wanted my school to be a private school that wore uniforms. So let them start now. And the goal was to get them to migrate and to stay with Genesis Learning Academies. And so they migrate from infancy all the way up until their senior year of high school. And so I started then. So I think for the later, not for the now.
It is so interesting that you set out and built that plan out several years ago, because my wife and our daughter, she's actually in school for this. So I think you're in school for educational leadership. So, it's quite interesting that what you're doing in your place is going to be replicated, duplicated in Tennessee. So that's quite interesting.
Do it, y'all. Do it.
And we'll talk offline about that process of getting DOE, because DOE, Department of Education is different from your state child licensing authority. It's different. So the process, the requirements are different. So we'll definitely touch base offline on that. My next question, and hold on, I may be overstepping my bounds. So we're gonna pitch it on over to Mr. President Raymond Maxwell. I think he has a few questions for you panelists.
Oh no, go ahead. Keep going, Ms. Todd. You on the road there. Great job, great questioning. Keep it going.
Okay. All right. My next question is for my daughter, for my baby. We had these kinds of conversations. So I'm gonna ask. It's a two-part question. Being young and a business owner, is it difficult to date? That's the first part. The second part is, do you have friends who own and operate businesses? If so, are they generational?
Far as the dating aspect, it is difficult, yes and no. Being young, a young business owner, it is difficult to date because I have to ensure that those that I date are really interested in me and not what me and my family have established and where we're going in our life. And I also have to set myself to a higher standard when it comes to dating and those I date, which oftentimes help me to weed out those who aren't just for me. But I will say that my standards and my carefulness when it comes to people who has narrowed down the pool of dating. So my perspective on dating has changed since I've been in the business as a leader. But when it comes to friends and a relationship, as I've grown in the business, I have found that some of the friends are not in the same place as you. They simply just not. And when it comes to the business, they don't have the same passion that you have for the business, which make it difficult sometimes to be with them. For example, they may not understand why I have to stay at work, why I have to work on weekends, why I do things just because. But in order to manage them friendships, I learned that all of my friends won't always be on the same page as me, and that's okay. That's truly okay, and I'm glad that I'm able to see these different friendships and be able to experience these things. I know that now I have different friendships for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I have friends that good for drinks. I have other friends that's good for business talks. And then of course, I always have the fruit friends that are able to do everything with me. So that's my aspects of friendships and dating.
Okay. Trayvon, I believe you are a divorcee. Are you married now? Are you single?
No, I'm single.
Okay. So as a male, black male,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a little different for us. The things we go through is a little different than our other than our counterparts. So my question to you is, as a male in childcare, is it difficult to date? Why not?
Well, first of all, don't nobody want me. Okay. And so, no, no. Asia, you look like you got a little too excited about that, Asia. I don't know if I like that. I don't know. All right, y'all, I'm sorry. I'm a clown. My bad. But Todd, before I answer your question, I want to say that I saw the pride on your face when your daughter answered that question the right way, man. You're just like, oh, that's my baby. Y'all saw that? Okay. All right. Okay. For me, no, it's not difficult today. The difficulty for dating is not in it's not even in just dating. It's the process of people understanding my schedule, understanding who I am, and like she said, why I make the choices not to go out or hang out here or do this or that, or why I make the choice to stay late when I could have let somebody else work. Because leadership requires sometimes me sacrificing what I could do for what I desire to do. You know what I'm saying? Or what I see should be done. So for me, no, it's not difficult to date. I'm just extremely careful. I'm just extremely careful.
Okay. Great answer. Great response. You've already answered that, how you best manage relationships. That was a good point. Let's see. Coach Asia, Madam Vice President, go ahead and ask a couple questions. I'm feel for some more.
Gotcha. So I'm gonna catch you guys off guard with this one, but this one's for you, Marnicia. So of course, I know you've talked about your life before childcare and making the decision of walking into early childhood education and knowing what that commitment was going to be like. You knew the sacrifice that the sacrifices that you had to overcome in order to be this great leader that you are. And yes, you're an awesome leader. But think back when you were younger. How did that make you feel as a young child, seeing your mom, she's working in the early childhood field, giving her time and dedication to the business side of things? What snapped in your head and made you feel like, okay, look, this is something that I really want to do? I often tell my girls all the time, hey, I want to hand this business over to you guys at one point. So of course, at their age, they're like, hey, push back, push back, push back. Mom, we don't want to do this. We don't want to sweep the floor. Mom, we don't want to do some of these responsibilities that's necessary. So I'm just really interested. What made you change your mind? Was it something that you feel like, okay, mom had to kind of let up a little and let you feel your way into it? Or is it something that you were just, hey, this is what I'm exposed to, and this is the family business, and I'm just going to go and walk right into that?
I believe it's more so. Honestly, I really just never thought about this question because it came so naturally. It
Mm-hmm.
This was something that I grew up in, so I didn't have a second thought of, oh, I don't want to do this. You know, when I enrolled in college, the first thing I wanted to do was be in childcare. So honestly, me and my mom never had a conversation about the legacy before college because then it was in our in-home daycare. She didn't have a thought that, oh, she was going to get a commercial real estate building and expand her childcare. So that was something we never talked about. So honestly, that's why I say it just always has been a passion because naturally that's all I have done, and I just never grew out of it. And being around children and loving children, I saw that I can impact children in ways that they may not be able to be impacted in their everyday life. you know so that's how I look at it. As you asked the question, that's how I look at it because it just came naturally.
Perfect. Now, Trayvon, you have young children as well, right?
I
Gotcha.
do.
So how do you approach pretty much the same situation with your children being so young? You have your hands in a lot of educational business educational businesses, but then also I know we said something about a chick. I heard a business about some chicken. If I heard that right.
You did.
About
You
a business
did.
venture. So how are you handling some of those questions and that family dynamic, knowing that, okay, I'm this spirit of entrepreneurship. I'm creating something for my family. So I know your children have questions. I know your children has interest. So how do you handle that?
I just try to make sure that they're involved with what I'm doing. So they see daddy going to work early. They see daddy closing up the store at times. They see daddy or the center at times. In the kitchen, of course, my daughter can't fry the chicken at the restaurant. She can't fry the chicken and bake the macaroni and cheese, but she can help me to prepare the plates. So I start her in the area that seems so somewhat of, I want her to know that she's a servant first. If you learn how to serve other people, then you can lead other people because you'll know what to expect from other servants, and you'll be able to say, I've been where you are. So I want her to be able to do that. And so both of my daughters, my oldest daughter is more interested in that than the youngest. They're 7 and 4. So, my 4-year-old is just interested in A for Abley or whatever it is on YouTube and Roblox. That's what she's concerned about. My 7-year-old has got to the point now where she sees how, and she only makes $3 or $4 off of doing small tasks. But I watch how as soon as she gets home, she takes that $3 or $4 and she puts it into her bank, her piggy bank. here at the house. And so then we take that and we look at it later and say, how much do you have? What would you like to do with this? Is that a smart choice? Well, if you do this, because she's getting good with math now, so now she can do her own math. If you do this, it costs $10. You only have 20. How much will you have left? Oh man, is that going to help you when you want to get that $25 item later? So should you make another choice or another decision? So she gets to do that. So her seeing me do what I do. And while I'm doing, I don't just say, go over here and fold that. Go over here and put this and do it. Go do this because this is what it does. When you put the napkins on the tables, this makes sure that our customers always have something to wipe their hands with. It sounds like common sense, but for a 7-year-old, it's building an understanding as to why we do what we do so that it becomes second nature to her. It becomes second nature to her.
Oh, yes. Love it. Gotcha. So, all right. So we I think we hitting the meat of it, guys. We getting ready to go a little level deeper. So who is the person you call on when you have a business problem and why? We can start with you, Trayvon. Come on. You gonna start with
I want to hear what Marnicia had to say first. She calling her daddy. I'm trying to figure out if I can call him too to get something too.
Well, I go.
Okay.
Well, the first person I always call on is my mom because she's been in the industry long. When I have a business question, because of course, if anybody know her, she always right. So I have to always go to her first. But honestly, I like to talk to my dad because he's the humble guy. You know, he actually hear me out and listen and understand what I'm actually asking or what concerns I'm having, and he give me the honest answer. You know, sometimes he be like, daughter, this is not the right way to go, or okay, if you're thinking in this aspect, this is what you should do, and if you want to do this, then here's the steps and actually to do with the fix the issue that you have. So I talk to both of my parents, but I make sure I always let my mom be in everything because she's always right.
Okay. So for me, so honestly, and I know y'all, because y'all done said I was a preacher or something, y'all want me to say Jesus is the first I call when I'm in trouble. No, not all the time. He's not the first all the time. However, no, I would say, so for me, and this is my advice to people, I talked about accountability, mentorship. I think that's important. And if you're wise, you should have mentorship in different areas of your life. So I have a mentor for my spiritual walk, and my mentor is my pastor. However, when I was married, I had a mentor in that area of my life, and he helped walk me through different things. For my restaurant business, it's my mother, because my mother owns restaurants, and she passed the restaurant down to me and told me that her idea is for her grandchildren to take the restaurant from me. So for me, I have different people. So it depends on what the issue is. Kind of like Marnicia said, that, she calls her dad when she needs a calm voice. She calls her mom when she just needs the answer quickly. For me, it depends on who it is. But generally, my mother is very wise in business. She has probably owned every business that is out here. She just does stuff. My mama just say, I think I'm going to do this, and does it. I don't understand. I don't even know how she got in the restaurant business, y'all. One day she called me. She was working it don't matter. She called me one day and said, son, I'm about to go in the restaurant business. I said, Mom, did you pray about it? She said, no. I said, you should pray. She said, no, if God gave me the idea, I'm going to do it. Y'all should take that for yourself right quick. She said, if God gave me the idea, I'm going to do it. I said, okay, cool. Thinking to myself, my mama tripping. My mother has owned that restaurant, never been in a restaurant business before. She has owned that restaurant since 2016.
Wow.
Still going well. And now she has multiple locations, and it has expanded from just a restaurant into an entire event venue, a 40,000 square foot building. It is the second largest event venue in our city. And the only reason it's number 2 is because the first one is owned by the military here, the U.S. military, because we're right here by base at Fort Bragg. So That's because she took an idea and just went with it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to give y'all all that because you didn't ask that. But yes, my mom. That's who I call my mother.
Great.
Well, you guys talk about the dynamics, the family dynamic and the importance of parents. So working under and then beside a parent or a relative, was it difficult for you to develop a voice? At what point did you realize, are they actually listening to me? Marnicia?
Well, in the beginning, I had a difficult time finding my voice, of course, within the business because I feel as though I was being looked over and not heard. Even now, as an adult, I sometimes feel like myself not being heard through my voice. This is probably due to my parents trying to protect me and still seeing me as their little girl and not an emerging lady and a businesswoman.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when we have conversation, I feel as though they are not listening to me or my ideas. But those same exact ideas from the exact conversation, you guys, they later on use it in the business, whether they admit it or not. So they are listening to me, but they just don't admit it. Or maybe then they may not see where I see the concepts or the ideas that I was giving, and later on down the line, they was like, "Oh, she was right." But when it comes to technology, my voice is always heard because they're older, and that's just my niche.
Okay. Trayvon?
For me, I would say working. Okay, give me a second. Let me read this question. Okay, for me, I would say that I always had a voice. I always had a voice with my mom. I always realized that I had a voice. Here was the thing, though. I had to realize that my voice wasn't louder than hers.
Mm.
So just because you got a voice doesn't mean that your voice is going to be louder than hers, which means I had to learn to humble myself to when her voice spoke over mine, or her opinion outweighed mine. I had to just be like, okay. For example, her restaurant for the longest, up until the year 2021, my mother ran her restaurant off of bar food. She ran wings, Phillies, burgers, fries, wedges, so on and so forth. I came in and said, "Ma, it's a McDonald's up the street. There's a Burger King up the street. There's a Cookout up the street. They sell what you're selling. There's no soul food within the next 5 miles from here. All right? And we're in the heart of Black folk. They want chicken. Mm-hmm. They want mac and cheese. They want this." My mother looked at me and she said, "No." I said, "Okay, that's you." But as soon as she handed me the key, I put my marketing skills to work. I did a grand opening day, and I did a re-grand opening day. And what I did is I called it rollout day, and I rolled out a new menu with soul food. And guess what happened? Sales went up like crazy. And all I did was call my mom and say, "Hey, remember when you said no? It's okay. I want you to know it worked." And you know what my mother's response was, though? "I'm glad it worked. I never thought it wouldn't work. It just wasn't going to work with me." So sometimes we just have to learn our role. And I'm glad this is a good question too. At what point you realize they are actually listening? So that's important. That's important. So yeah.
Asia?
I'm in awe over here.
Yeah.
So our next question is, how many relatives has preceded you in owning and operating a childcare business? Marnicia, we'll start with you.
Well, from my knowledge, before I was born, my great-grandfather had a childcare. But my mom, of course, is a multi-center owner and operator childcare business.
Trayvon?
My mother. So one. My family's always done little small things. My mom, I would say, has been a successful business owner who, but she's never done childcare. So she's just business owner. Oh, I'm sorry. The question specifically said operating childcare business. My bad.
It's
y'all, to be honest, my 4-year-old daughter just walked in here and tried to talk to me while I'm talking to y'all, and I'm like, "Chick, don't mess me up, okay? I'm doing all right. I'm sorry, y'all."
That's
Gotcha.
fine. We understand. We got a grandbaby that runs around and runs our house right now as well. So we definitely understand. He's the boss. Whatever he wants, occurs when he wants it. So we definitely understand. Let me ask you this, and this is um, entrepreneurship. Business diversification. See, Trayvon, I heard you say that you have a school. You run the gambit of school. You don't have a college yet, So you have a preschool, you have an elementary school, and you can go to high school. So you covering the first years of education, which means you have the power to indoctrinate and produce. There's a concept by I think his name is Stephen Covey. You start with the end in mind. It seems to me that you started with the end in mind. So now you're going into a new area of business, restaurant, and it seems like you started with the end in mind in that restaurant as well. What other businesses are you thinking that you're going to produce while you have breath in your body and the blood is warm in your veins?
Listen, can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I'm I have my certification in real estate. I have not done my real estate. I have not got my real estate license for the state of North Carolina yet, and it's just because I wanted to continue to focus on building this first. But I got my real estate. I did real estate school and everything several years ago.
Okay.
I will continue in that.
Okay.
I also own a janitorial company as well. So I do own a janitorial business. That was my very first baby. That was my business. And that's why I will never let that go. So janitorial business is what I do now. To be honest with you, Todd, I don't plan to do anything else.
Okay.
I don't. I like this. I have found my lane, and I am going to stick with this. And to be honest with you, my mama can have her restaurant back too. Okay. Because this is my lane. Okay.
Okay.
Education is my lane, and so yeah, that's for me. That's what I would say. I don't see myself doing anything additional. What I would like to do, if I could say this, is, and I've been talking to my 7-year-old daughter lately to see what she's into, because I would like for her to develop something that I can help her grow into a small business right now. But I don't want to force her into anything. She just loves people right now, and I think that's enough. So if I can get her to like doing something for people, then I can condition her for something else. But right now, that's it.
Okay. Marnicia, same question, and then we have one closeout question. So Marnicia, what businesses would you like to start before you leave this earth?
Ooh, my end goal is basically to have a strip that caters to, of course, it's going to be children. I just want to have a strip in one building be community. I want to be able to be involved in the community where I have the children and the families come out and be able to just give each other the love that they need.
So like a center.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll be a commercial strip center. Okay, all right. Yeah, she just gave me a marching order, y'all. So the closeout question is, and this is for both of you. Just try to limit your response to 3 minutes. I think we're gonna end in about 10. So, are you where you thought you would be at this age? Are you where you thought you would be at this age, Trayvon?
Man, I don't know. Yes, I would say yes. You know what? I'm on schedule.
Okay.
I felt like I was behind schedule at one point, educational wise, got my degrees and things of that sort. And right now, my next step is I'm finishing up my master's now, and the next step is to complete my doctorate before I turn 35. So while I'm 34 years old. So as of right now, I would say yes.
Okay. Marnicia?
Yes, I am where I thought I would be. Went to college, got my bachelor's, got my master's, and now I'm in my doctoral program, and I'll be done with that in a year. So I am where I would like to be.
Okay. All right. If there were, I guess we'll just go ahead and close it out. I think we got right, Asia. We need to.
I think our president Ray Maxwell has a question.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ray.
I have a quick question for both panelists. I'm so grateful that we have generational builders as our panelists. I would like to ask, some people create generational wealth and then their kids squander it away, like, people that used to own cleaners and small businesses, they just let them go. What is your plan to maintain that generational wealth in your household? Like, have like health insurance plan or something in place to maintain that generational wealth within your family.
Well, um, I believe that generation wealth should like start early, right? You introduce them to the concept of financial literacy at an early age. Parents don't always feel like it's comfortable to have them type of conversations. You have to make financial literacy fun and learning fun. Many people think that children are too young to learn about generational wealth, but that is not true. Generational wealth could be taught to children in a fun way. We do family engagements at home where we all get together and we play Monopoly. And doing Monopoly, even though they're buying properties, the buying property isn't real. It teaches us that how to manage our money, and it shows us what happens to them if they get too greedy, and if they get too greedy and not too hungry, if they get hungry enough. So basically, I would just in my family, my parents continue to show us different concepts. They have different tools. We do real estate conferences. We also do like at the beginning of the year, we do our goals for the year, and we set our goals, and we each child have to meet their standards by the end of the year. So it just all depends basically on their environment that your child is in and the parenting skills that you're brought upon. Because I know from my household, we do those type of things.
Okay, I'm sorry. For me, I would say, and I love what she said. I'm going to piggyback off of what she said. I want to steal this. The making sure that I educate my children now, so that I think the reason why a lot of families end up losing what they've built through their children that have been passed down is that they made their children work in the business, but they did not teach them the whys of the business, why I started, why we do this, why we have overhead, why the health department actually walks in here and has say so in what we do, why the state, they don't. So they just think that they're just supposed to get money and make money. The other thing that I have done is there are two things that I've done. One, if something is to happen to me, and I pass away before my daughters become of age, I have someone else outside of their mother and here's why. Because their mother could easily fall for the wimpy face, mommy, I need this, mommy, I want to do this. And just like I would, if something happened to their mom, I would probably fall for that, right? Because those are my babies. But I have someone else who is in charge of the estate. And that estate includes my businesses and the assets thereof. There's a portion of monies that they get access to before they turn 18. There's another portion of money that they get access to when they turn 18. And then at another age and I've discussed this with that individual, but at that particular age, when they have reached the age where they show a level of maturity in business, they can be released to all of the monies and the control of the businesses and things of that sort. So I have everything pretty much locked, if you will, until they reach an age of maturity to where they want just sell it, give it away, or lose it. So that's that. And then the second thing is if I can survive and give it over to them, the way that I lock it in is education and me oversight, continuing to be there, walking with them, being what my mother is to me right now. My mother is so there for me right now that I don't want to disappoint her by losing what she's put in my hands. And if something happens to my mother to where she goes on to be with the Lord, I will not only keep what she's given me going, but what she's doing now, I'm going to pick up and make sure it's managed well as well, because I know her heart. So getting that's good. Getting your children to understand I'm sorry, y'all. Getting your children to understand your heart. When they know your heart, they won't let your heart bleed. That's it.
That was good. Like Look, I know somebody took something away from the childcare chats. That last little piece right there, Trayvon, it touched me. It touched me. It touched me deep in my heart. So yes, so make sure that your children know your heart and the reason why is going to help unfold some of that generational wealth and keep and maintaining it inside your family. It's going to be so important. So we have come to the end of our NCOA Childcare Chats. Thank you, thank you, thank you to our special guests. Thank you to Todd Harris and Raymond Maxwell, part of our board, joining in from the NCOA. We talked about generational wealth today. If anybody is looking to join the NCOA, the time is now because we are journeying forward, powering through, talking about some of those tough subjects, some of these something that was lightweight today, that was touching. So I've shared it. There's been multiple comments. Go back on, make sure you reach out to Marnicia, reach out to Trayvon. They have some great insights, some great advice, and we will most definitely get ready to see you guys soon on the next NCOA Childcare Chats. Have a good one.